Hi there, my name's Brian Gilbertson and I'm the event manager and director of the National Pharmacies Christmas Pageant. And I'm down here at Stardust Castle and I thought I might give you a little walk through. That's our props manager just having a snooze there. This is where we keep our props down at Stardust Castle, beautifully and neatly presented. These little fellas up here, you can see them. They are our models. And that's what we build our floats from. We take the measurements from those models and end up with the beautiful floats that you see out on pageant day. We'll just take you down the passage here and I'm going to show you a couple of old drawings from our artists. That was one of the pageant queen floats. That's an old Father Christmas drawing. Beautiful nursery rhymes from 1974. That's where I live when I'm working down here, currently working from home. And I've got the Keystone Cops on my wall. So these are the drawings that the artists make from which those models I showed you are created. Toby Toy Truck, a great favourite. Some of the older floats. Beautiful Rudolph. This is the admin area. Of course, everyone's working from home. And then we'll head out into which way? That way. We won't go that way first. We're going to go into the wardrobe, which is where all the costumes are stored. So we're both a workshop down here and a storage environment. So there's all of our costumes. The ones on the racks on the ground are all ready, waiting for pageant day. We have to fit all of our participants into those costumes, and all of the costumes are adjusted to make sure that they're comfortable when they go out on pageant day. This is the beautifully tidied up wardrobe manufacturing area. These big tables, normally we've got materials spread all of those over those tables with sewing machines on these benches, but at the moment the wardrobe people are working from home. Out through here we then get out into the main storage facility, and so here we are. Down that lane there are all the materials for pageant eve. We take them up on pageant eve on the Friday and then put them into place so that they're ready for the Saturday morning. Along this row here are the mini sets that have been created for the pageant by children around South Australia. They go into competitions to create mini sets, and some of these mini sets were taken out of the storage and out of their plastic wrapping to promote our mini float competition, the National Pharmacies Christmas Pageant mini float competition. Now that competition is live right now, so if you wanted to get your children to be involved, please jump onto our website, which is just search National Pharmacies Christmas Pageant, and under comps you'll see competition, and it's the mini float competition. Just look at all the rules and then you can get cracking and get your children to be creative and to put in an entry. And they might win some money. They'll win a spot with their friends on the Blue on a Line. They'll get a tour down here at Stardust Castle, and also the float will be built to go in the pageant. Great. So you can see each year we wrap up our floats in plastic, and this makes sure that we don't lose any colour from the floats. Now we're heading off into the work environment, and this is the carpentry area. So the carpentry area is where we build, I'm going to show you in reverse, but this is where we build all the timber and all of the artwork onto a float. Now I can show you these now because they don't reveal what the floats are, but I can't tell you what the floats are until October. So this is some building that's going on here. We've actually got the base working at the minute. There's some letters being created there that will go on the float, some structure, and oh, there's a little sneak preview. What's that? I shouldn't have shown you that. Here's John, our workshop supervisor.
Hey guys, how are we?
You're going to tell us what you're working on, or?
Yeah, it's actually the start of a new float. I can't tell you too much because we don't launch until October, but it's got a rainbow. That's a bit of a hint.
Ooh, that's a bit too much to say, John. Here's all the machines. This is where we cut up the timber to get ready to create shapes for our floats. This is another float base that's being put together for a new float for this year. And here's Barney, who's working on one of the props for, we call them shapes. So you can see the little detail that's going into that. That shape will be carried by somebody inside there. And so the timber needs to be very light and able to be carried. That'll eventually have a drink water bottle in it. It'll go over the person's head, and then they'll pop along through the pageant like this, and it should be a lot of fun. Say hi, Barn.
Hi. Can't tell you much about it, but going well.
So there's Barney doing his bit there, and then this is the base that goes underneath all that timber. So this is a new base that we're creating. This is all designed by the pageant. This is pageant design. We get rear axle, we get an old vehicle's front end. Where does the front end come from, Alan?
It's a Mitsubishi L300 light van.
See, that makes a lot of sense to me. An L300, and then what have you done? You've had to restructure everything, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got to redo the steering to suit what we want for a float, take all the car stuff off, and just use the basic part of the front end, and then just modify it to suit our needs.
Fantastic. And Alex, say hi.
Howdy.
So Alex is there, he's working on this and learning how to do this. Alan's been in the pageant for about 51 years, so he really knows what he's talking about, and what a great teacher for Alex for the future. Fantastic. Doing a bit of welding there. Now John's moved from his carpentry over to metal work, and he's doing a bit of cutting. Very industrious. More storage area around here, and a welding bay over there. You can see just behind this screen. So we have a mobile welding panel to stop people looking in while they're welding in this area. So very heavy industry here, full on work. Down in this area we've got the tow motors. Now the tow motors are a great part of the pageant. They're really the romance of the pageant. You can see all of these tow motors. They're under plastic at the minute. I'll show you a couple of very old ones shortly, but these tow motors come from wharves and from train stations and all different places, airports. What we have to do with them is we have to cut the backs off. So these are the backs down here. We have to cut them off, put on new seats so that the seats can go backwards and have a little bit of spring in them, because there's not a lot of spring in those particular vehicles. We have to then service those vehicles every year, so that we can get through the pageant safely and without breakdowns. These are the really romantic little Carpentries. That's a beautiful little vehicle. We've still got those in the pageant, and they come up beautifully in front of the floats. If we had a four-wheel drive that was working out there on pageant day, then the floats would look very small. So these are great for us. And then this is the Pride Wall. So the guys have created, this is the Father Christmas Pride Wall. This was the Father Christmas float. You can see the heavy industry of all of that metal work that's created up there. I'm not too sure what you're getting on this screen. We'll find out later. But really some magnificent work there. That's all the foundation underneath the float. And then all the beautiful timber work. And then of course you're familiar with the Father Christmas float. You see it every pageant day. And then of course there's a 1-ton ute that was cut up and turned into an 8-metre limousine. So I hope you can see that there. So here I am back in my office. What happens during the year? September, just before a pageant, we start to think about what will the designs be for next year. So I'm talking to the artists. We're sketching out some designs based on should we have a float for boys predominantly, for girls, for grandparents, something quirky that looks into the future, something Australiana maybe, something Christmas, to find, and the decision making on that is based on what's coming out of the pageant and what's going into the pageant, so that I can get an overall picture of a great pageant rather than, oh, we just want to do this because it's a great idea. So it needs to fit with the parameters of presenting a great overall pageant. Remembering that there are 170 theatrical moving sets in our pageant, which makes it pretty special. Compared to other pageants in the world, some would say that Macy's and Toronto Santa Claus Parade are the biggest pageants in the world, and yet they have something in the order of 20 to 30 floats in their pageants. We have over 60. We are rehearsed so that we actually go out there and play characters, whereas the other parades in the world basically walk and wave. So, you know, we've got a very theatrical, performance-based parade here, which makes it, in my view, one of, if not the best Christmas parade in the world. Certainly, it's the biggest Christmas parade in the world. There are others that are a little bit longer, and there are others that have more people turn up because they have more people in the area that they are produced. But certainly, we're right up there as one of the biggest and one of the best in the world. So, during the year, we're preparing. We've kicked off with our building in February, probably building 2 floats up until June. Then we build a 3rd float from there on, plus maybe a mini float. We're also organising, so we've got our staff going to meetings with our PR people, with our sponsorship teams, with our suppliers, with our operational teams. We have 2 major operational meetings that are part of the planning to make sure that everybody's safe on the day. We're extremely grateful to our emergency services and all of those people who support us and advise us in relation to risk management, etc. We've got risk management documents, we've got planning to do all through the year. It's quite significant to get this one day of the year to happen well. Oh, there's a little interruption. We've got a couple of Guinness World Records as well. So you can see there, Guinness World Record. That was for red noses, most people wearing red noses. We are an official icon. And this record was for largest group of carol singers. That was a lot of fun getting those records. July comes and we are now getting our tow motors serviced. That's a really big part of moving from July through to November when the pageant happens. And so we want those tow motors in tip-top condition so that there are no breakdowns and the pageant can run smoothly. We're also going into rehearsals and we're going into fittings. So every person who's in the pageant is fitted with a costume. We spend about 5 minutes per person and they come through like clockwork. The women in the wardrobe quickly fit those people and then they're out and about, thousands of costumes to be adjusted in time for pageant day. All of those costumes are then trucked up to the pageant on pageant eve, up to Pulteney Grammar School, where we take over the school in the afternoon and we have security there, and all of our product is delivered into the school on the Friday afternoon. On the Saturday morning at about 3 o'clock, we come to the Stardust Castle with our drivers and we gear up for warming up the vehicles and getting them out and being ready to be escorted to the city by the police. And so the police with their motorbikes, they come along and join us and off we go to the city. During this time, of course, before the pageant day, there's the blue honour line has been laid and the audience is ready to come in. They're turning up now sometimes at 9 o'clock the evening before the pageant, and they will then get themselves set out in sleeping bags with their coffees and their papers and their torches, and they'll sleep overnight to get their favourite spots in readiness for the following day. Quite often your grandparents and your dads are out there putting down the rugs early in the morning and securing positions for when the mums and the kids turn up a little bit later. Most South Australians know how to manage the pageant. They come fully prepared with their sunscreen, their slip, slop, slap, and their water and little goodies to eat. While they're waiting, they draw chalk drawings all along the pageant route, which is an amazing sight to see. And then, of course, waiting for the whistle to blow at 9:30 on the second Saturday of every November, when the first float starts from South Terrace and makes its way through the city to North Terrace. When it's at full length, that is, that the first float is reaching its destination where Father Christmas will be delivered, the whole city is encompassed by the pageant from north to south. And Father Christmas has still not left South Terrace. So it's a massive event and a massive undertaking. Over 3,800 people, 2,500 inside the Blue Honour line on the day, and another 1,500 on the day working behind the scenes. So yeah, great humbling experience for all of us who work on the pageant. It's a tremendous experience to be involved with this very talented team here at Stardust Castle, the very talented events team at Events South Australia, which is a part of the South Australian Tourism Commission. And of course, one of the reasons why we put on massive events in this state is to create an incredible amount of community spirit with all of our fellow South Australians, and also to attract people to come here and see this magnificent state of ours in its full glory. And of course, on pageant day, they get a taste of the sort of people who love to live in South Australia, and they're the sort of people who love to put on a wonderful event and to attend a wonderful parade, family, friends coming together in a wonderful sense of mutual good spirit. I want to thank you for listening into this little presentation. I hope you've got just a taste of what goes on to actually deliver this magnificent event for the people of South Australia, and the many visitors who either happen to be here or come specifically the event to see it, and also the wonderful number of people who drift in from the regions to pop into the city and spend some time with us in the city to see the event. We're looking forward to seeing you all on the 14th of November, which is the second Saturday in November this year. And of course, we'll be monitoring the situation in the lead up, but we're certainly working towards presenting a great event for you in 2020. We'll see you all there.